The Dreamer by Nicole Abbey, Chapter 6. Notes. Eureka! I have found it! Captain, notably less enthusiastic. The remaining weeks on the ship passed without much incident. Kept in the hold for the remainder of the trip, Charles Tipkins had virtually disappeared, and I stayed mostly out of the rest of the crew's way, keeping either to my cabin or by the captain's side. The men eyed me cautiously, and I eyed them cautiously, but that was the end of it. And remarkably, I felt a strange new exhilaration in the prospect of my adventure, despite the harrowing experience. I was still cautious and uneasy, but there was a new charge in the atmosphere that I find difficult to explain. Colors seemed more vibrant, the wind more biting or caressing, and the smallest details more in focus than ever before. I attempted many times to dissect the reason behind these changes, but I was unable, so finally all I could do was take pleasure in them. Eventually it seemed hardly to matter that I couldn't deduct the psychological reasoning behind it, and that I only knew that it felt good. It was almost as though that was enough. "Captain!" I cried, entering the adjoining library. "There you are! We've been looking all over for you. Finley, Finley, where are you?" Well, he must have just gone. Why is it so dark in here? The captain stood abruptly, knocking his cup and tipping it over. He cursed and righted it. Before him was the large center table, abundant with food, an empty plate set before him, another one across the table. Very few candles were burning. "I knew you'd be somewhere on the upper deck, but John insisted we patrol the lower deck first, even though you're never down there at this time of night. Oh, man, that smells good. May I join you? Oh, it looks like you're expecting someone." "No," he replied. Please, have a seat. Help yourself." He went to the other side of the table to pull out my chair, according to the custom of the day. I had already picked up my plate and set it closer to his, so he had to push the chair over to my new place setting. "There is so much here, Captain," I cried. "This will not inordinately deplete our rations?" "We are mere days from shore," he said. "We can safely use all we have now." I sat down and eagerly reached for a roll and tore it with my fingers. "I've had such a delightful day. This is delicious. There's nothing in the world like these rolls, are there? I would love to learn to bake like this. Perhaps I'll consult the cook. Authentic 18th century recipes will be a welcome addition to my records. Oh, I almost forgot," I said between bites. "What does that stocky man do on the side of the ship with the stick and the long knotted rope?" I pushed my plate closer to his, and I knocked his drink, sloshing the crimson liquid inside. He caught the glass and steadied it. "It's to gauge speed," he said. "It tells us how many knots we are traveling." I gasped. "Knots? I know this word. It's used—" I stopped, and then continued a bit more subdued. "At my home, too." He looked at me furtively, cutting his food. "Rachel, that's part of the reason why I wanted to dine with you tonight. We are close to port, and it is time we decide what to do with you once we get there." I looked down at my plate, my appetite suddenly gone. I did not want to think of the shore. "Will you tell me about your home?" he asked. "Where you come from?" I looked at him and I opened my hands, a plea in my voice. "It would be futile. You cannot help me return, and—" "You wouldn't like to hear it," I said. He eyed me for a moment, his mind at work, and then he leaned forward and said with some gentleness, "If there was an indiscretion, some sort of crime, I'm sure—" I laughed. "The very idea! I'm no criminal!" He leaned back and sighed. "Well, what is the problem?" he said. I looked down, saying nothing, the curtain of my hair falling forward and partially hiding my face. I absently pushed the dried fruit on my dish with my fork. "Then surely you can tell me where you came from at least." He waited. "The ship you fell from? Where you were destined? Nothing? What are you hiding from me?" he asked. I dropped my fork. "Captain, try to understand. I do not wish to be difficult, but the truth will not help us." "Were you mistreated?" he asked. "It isn't that. After I collect the proper amount of data, I shall try to return." I swallowed at the prospect. "But for now, I'm Stuck here. I rubbed the tips of my fingers on my brow in weariness. How did you get that scar? He asked. I blinked. Scar? Yes. He gestured to my head. That thin scar that runs along your forehead, dividing the hair of your brow. You have your fingers on it now. How did it happen? I've often wondered. My hand went to my brow, my fingers searching. I have a scar? I picked up my butter knife and I peered into it to find my reflection. You didn't know? He asked. Now that you mention it, but it's hardly visible, surely. How did you even notice it? There it was, reflecting on the slim surface of the knife. Indeed, the scar was thin and faded. How many times had I looked into the mirror since it happened, not seeing it? You touch at it all the time, he said, as though it still pains you. I do? I didn't know that. Still, I peered into the knife. Let's see. I tripped and fell, and I cut my head on a rock. But the scar is so thin, he replied, leaning forward to look at it. Well, my parents used a butterfly bandage. A what? I cleared my throat and looked at him. It's a home remedy. It's very effective. Why were you climbing around on rocks? He asked, perplexed. I put down the knife, my other hand still fingering the scar. I wasn't climbing around on rocks. I was running. Playing a game? He asked. I frowned. No, I don't think so. Then what? That was a long time ago. Oh, yes, I do. I breathed. I was running away. I thought you said you weren't playing a game. Oh, it wasn't a game, I answered slowly. I was doing it in all seriousness. I was running away from home, resolving never to return. The past repeats itself, he murmured. What do you mean by that? I said. Since you won't tell me what you are running away from now, will you tell me what you are running away from then? I am not running away now, I said. He looked skeptical. I'm not. I am on a mission to gather information, to discover truth at all costs, despite any consequences. No truths to discover at home. To discover truth, as you call it, one must travel, irreversibly it seems, oceans to do it? He shrugged. A little smugly, I thought. Continue then. What were you running from as a child? I don't remember. I stopped. What? I heard my parents arguing. About what? He asked. About me, I said slowly. What about you? He seemed very interested. I watched a spider climb up the far wall. It had spindly legs and looked very clumsy, like it would trip and tumble on the floor any second. They were arguing about whose turn it was to have me. He looked confused. To have you? Yes, they were divorced. Divorced? I looked at him. It is a different place, I said, a different custom. Try to understand. I'm so sorry, he said. I let that pass. Very well, continue. They were fighting over you and, he said. No, I spoke slowly, as I remembered, turning my attention to that poor spider again, laboring up the wall very slowly. His legs were too thin and clumsy, and I knew he wouldn't make it. They weren't arguing over me. My mother took me to my father's house, but he hadn't been expecting us. They told me to go outside to play, but I didn't. I stepped into the next room, and my father said that he didn't expect us until tomorrow. My mother told him there was a lecture that she couldn't miss. They argued. She said she needed a break, that it was his turn now, and he said he had me as much as she did, and he wasn't going to let her push me off on him again. The spider fell, as I knew it would. I didn't feel sorry for it at all either. It had no business climbing that impossible wall. A seagull called from outside, a piercing, sorrowful sound. I snapped out of the past. The captain was watching me, a look of horror on his face. I laughed. So I ran off. I promptly tripped and I fell, and neither of them got their way. He didn't reply. They were both brilliant and accomplished professors at one of the most prestigious universities of the world. They led full, demanding lives. Still, he said nothing. It was a turning point in my life. It gave me the drive and ambition necessary to achieve all that I have achieved. Knowledge, education, academic success, they have been the boon of my existence. And that day, that moment, was when I chose my life's journey. And what a journey! Despite the setbacks, all I've accomplished, all I am, is due to this scar. Now I think of it, one might say I would never have met you without this scar. So thank you for reminding me. He stared at me. Poor thing, he murmured. I should have known he would take it too seriously. Are you married? He asked. I blinked, and he did too, as though he were surprised at his own question. How ridiculous! He frowned and shifted in his seat. It has been known to happen. A woman running from an unhappy marriage. Yes, but not to me. I'm nobody's dupe. A dupe? In marriage? His voice was a challenge. Oh, I'm sure it works for some people, but it isn't for me. I'm too independent, too focused on my work. Any time spent on the marriage would be time taken away from my study. Knowledge passed on is everything. It is fine for some women, but you don't know what I have accomplished, the gift I am about to give humankind. Don't look at me like that. It isn't empty hubris. You simply don't know what the world would lose if I became a wife and mother. He chewed thoughtfully. I knew my words displeased him. You might be underestimating the influence of those who live quiet, humble lives. My mother, for instance, he said. My ears perked up here. I always paid close attention to the rare times he spoke personally. She was never famous, and her time was cut very short. I only knew her for a few years, but she was the greatest influence of my life. The best parts of me I can trace back to her grace, kindness, and faith, even though she... She what? I asked when he didn't continue. He shifted uncomfortably. Nothing. I sighed. I'm sure she was a beautiful person, but Captain, I am not like that. Marriage and family would be shackles to my purpose. I am meant to do great things. You cannot know it now, but you will. I am meant to change the world. The world? He repeated dryly. Forgive me, I didn't realize. My brows came down. You've had your fun poking into my life. Now it's my turn. Very well, he said. I paused in surprise. The challenge had been impulsive, and I had not expected him to agree. You'll answer any question I ask you? I will. And promise to tell me the absolute truth? If you wish. If I wish, I've wished it for days. You are the single most impossible man to interview. Where are my notes? Behave, he warned. But you promised. Within reason, he qualified, seeming to already regret his words. I tapped my chin thoughtfully with a finger. I better make it a good one. As a question occurred to me, my look changed from thoughtful satisfaction to one of uncertainty. There is something that I've wondered, I said. Yes? I spoke slowly. When you were ill, you thought I was your mother. You were so afraid. You grabbed me, and you pled with me not to let him kill you. I looked at him. It sounded like you thought your father was coming. The captain's gaze did not waver, though he didn't answer immediately. Should I not have pried, Captain? I asked contritely, leaning forward. He bent down, wiping a smudge off his gleaming boot, his voice cross. I'm not a delicate rose petal. You don't have to keep asking me that. If you're asking me if my father killed my mother, then the short answer is yes.